Okay, thank you for joining us on this journey in the Word. The earliest beginnings of the church is an amazing story. It's an amazing God story. Jesus and his disciples spent most of their time in Galilee. That was the friendly territory. They only came to Jerusalem on special occasions. The last time in Jerusalem, Jesus met his death. The last time he was in Jerusalem, he faced torture, execution, and death. His disciples hid. They were afraid of the authorities. But 6 weeks later, they were back in Jerusalem, not as visitors, but as permanent residents. They moved everything they had, family and friends, possessions, to Jerusalem, away from Galilee, where the message of the empty tomb would have been received warmly, right into the heart of those who had opposed Jesus. And Peter and James and John and the others came back into Jerusalem with a vengeance. They stood strong, even though they were threatened with imprisonment, threatened with death. They would not stop proclaiming the empty tomb. They had to tell what they knew to be true. That's an amazing story. It's a God story. This week we're going to be looking at the second chapter of Acts and the day of Pentecost. On that particular day, God's Spirit moved in a mighty way among the disciples. And Peter stood up to the crowd and he spoke. He gave an eloquent speech. The heart of his speech was this: Jesus of Nazareth was accredited by God by miracles, wonders, and signs, which God did among you and through him, as you yourselves know. This man was handed over to you by God's deliberate plan and foreknowledge. And you, with the help of wicked men, put him to death by nailing him to the cross. But God raised him from the dead, freeing him from the agony of death, because it was impossible for death to keep hold of him. When the crowd heard Peter's message, when they had witnessed the miracle of the signs of speaking in various tongues, they asked Peter, "What must we do?" Just 6 weeks earlier, the crowd responded, "Crucify him." And now they ask, "What must we do?" Peter responded, "Repent and believe. Be baptized." That day, 3,000 believed. Can you imagine what would happen if 3,000 people joined FPC on one day? Can you imagine how long it took to baptize 3,000 new believers? What would have happened to a community of faith that goes from 100 to 3,000 overnight? Imagine what it did to the city, the rumors, the discussions. Imagine how the authorities would respond to that movement of God so quickly among them. This week, I want you to look at the second chapter of Acts. On the website, there are two descriptions of two techniques of study and two methods of studying the Scriptures, Lectio Divina and Imago Divina. These are ways that can help us make the Scriptures come alive, to get into the Scriptures, to hear God's message to us. And so I invite you to use those methods as you look at that second chapter of Acts. And go to if you want to be part of the Facebook group, I have a Facebook group, closed group for discussion. Email me and I'll put you onto that list. But I hope this week will be an important week as we look at the early beginnings of the church. Have a great week. Thank you.